Chapter 7 is about the food and the nutrition available to our environments. I mean, available to humans, to insects, to marine life, and that's to the whole ecosystem. So the trend in the food and nutrition. So although the amount of soil is not increased, but the food production is always in a big growth every year. So the soils is not really expanded that much through the years, but yet the food productions increase. And you know the reason for this, because we are using a lot of technologies were not available hundreds of years ago. So every time you will see the food is up. And because we are using those different technologies, the food prices from 100 years ago to now is quadrupled or more than that. Why? Because you are using technologies, those technologies demand and cost a lot of funding, such as oil, such as other mechanical stuff to be used in farming and cropping those plants. So, and as I said, despite the changes, food costs always in rise, and the supply problems is always the case. Okay, so you have limited soil area, planted soil area versus the population growth. So the population growth is increasing while the soil or area is not increased. And because of this, the malnutrition, hunger is really affecting most of the area on this planet. And you can see the green one, they are the least countries or the least continents or the least countries, they are affected by the malnutrition or by the decrease of amount of food, while the one the green one is the least affected, but the red one is the most affected area where really nutrition is lacking there. So you can see yourself here. Okay, guys? Okay, so again, it's another definition here. What is food security? Well, food security is ability to obtain sufficient healthy food around us, and which affect our mental and physical health. And that's for humans. And the same thing can be said to the other living creatures around us. So, okay, so although we say that food security is in the developed countries are mostly under management, but if you go for the developing countries, we have developing. The developed, they have this under management, under control to large extent, but the developing countries, they have the least management or sometimes no management on this controlling of the food resources, and therefore they are lacking food security, and therefore you get starvation, you get a lot of malfunction of their physical abilities of those people are living in that area, and therefore you will see the food security is always depending on the management of this issue. So if you have a very good management of this food security issue, then you'll have least problem with it, with the population inside that country. So the least management of the food security here, those countries are really suffering. Not only this, we have other factors leading to this. not only the food is there, but then you have this wars. You have weather climates changing. You have all this, some mishaps, some earthquakes, a lot of stuff are really affecting this food security. Not only just we look at just the soil only, but there are other factors affecting to the shortage of this food on those market in those countries. And not only the soil itself, but you have a lot of other problems, especially civil wars, and then changing of climate, and the worse food security management. So those are the major factors there. So, and that's what I said, always, famines always has political and social roots, and that's what I said here. You can see this, some other factors, starvation, you have wars, you have civil wars, you have climate changes, correct? And economic chaos. All this is cause of this famine and the starvation of population. How much food do we need? Well, we need the good essential food. We need it really. But the problem is, as I said, you have limited amount of soil available for planting compared with the rate of the population. The population now, what we have, about 7 or 8 billion, 7 billion. So it's maybe in 2050 will be maybe around 10 billion people on this earth. Now the area of used for planting is limited. It's not expanding as the people growth. People growth are very fast compared with the area of planting this food. And this is one of the, now we have the other side. We have starvation, we have food and nutrition shortages. On the other hand, we have the opposite of this. People are overeating, and people get obese. People get with this obesity and overeating has a big side effect with a lot of developing a lot of diseases and sickness. So the overeating is one of the growing world problem, as you can see. On the other hand, you have people are starving because of the least management, and people on the other side, you have good management, but then you have an overeating or overweight problems and obesity problems. So that's another problem, and it has to do with the food itself. More production does not necessarily reduce hunger. That's always true. You can have a lot of food abundance, but you don't have, you cannot eliminate hunger. Although you are producing in abundance amount of food, but yet you cannot eliminate hunger, because this hunger is always has, as I say, social, economic roots, and it has climate roots. It has a lot of other reasons. Just only you say, okay, that's the hunger is there. You know, you cannot just keep a lot of food on the market, but you cannot eliminate hunger. And that's really true for developing countries. They have this issue. Sometimes some developing countries, they do have the food, but then you have this civil wars and all the political unrest and all the instability in the systems they create, and that's lead to a lot of displaced population from one area to other area, and cause a lot of a lot of hunger. So whenever you have displaced people from one area to another area, you have civil wars. Then civil wars is one of the reasons, or one of the strongest reasons behind the hunger in those developing countries. ING, not ED, developed, but in the developing countries. Global the global food waste amount to 30% of all food production. So we eat 70% and 30% of the food is being wasted, not because we are where we want to, but the food has a lot of other, the food chain has to go to the market through all other channels, transportation might fail. You have storing systems might fail. So all those stuff here, those are leading to the waste, because if you have a food, it's not cooled down in the desired temperature, that food will increase the fungi and bacteria, and they will come and eat on it. They spoil that food. So we have a lot of food, and sometimes in your kitchen, if you keep a food, you forget the food outside the fridge for maybe a couple hours, not only one day or so, that food will be, because that type of food needs desired temperatures. If those desired temperatures are not there, that food will be spoiled. That will be spoiled, and that will be a waste. So we use just 70% and 30% of all food in the United Nations statistics. 30% of the food is considered as to be waste. And you can see that's 30% is a lot. 30% is really a lot of waste we are generating. And then you ask yourself, where is the 30% will go? Will go to the whatever you are collecting, all this trash and everything there will end up to the dump field, whatever the places you call them. You're storing them for years to come, and eventually some of those wasted food, if this manufactured with chemicals, those chemicals will be released into the environment, whether we like it or not. We are using a lot of preservatives inside our food to maintain the food for a longer time. However, when this food is wasted and dumped through the years, it will be wasted, and some of those chemicals inside it, we use them to protect the food. Originally, they will release those chemicals into the environment, and that's what's happened. Biofuels have boosted commodity prices. That's always true. And I think if you look at the country like Brazil is producing corn in millions of hectares. A lot of cubic kilometer of areas just made for corn. And they get out of this corn ethanol. They get what? They take the corn, and then they have special plants. They extract the ethanol from the corn, and using this ethanol as fuel to fuel cars. Now remember, the ethanol is lighter, so therefore you cannot drive a big car like 18-wheeler with ethanol. That will never work, because the octane number of ethanol is very low compared with the diesel. Diesel has the largest crude oil octane number, so you can, when it's combusted, you get a lot of energy, enough to drive the engine of 18-wheeler car. Are you following me here? So, but this is for the small cars. This corn for the small cars or for heating purposes, you can use it, but you cannot use this ethanol for very bulky equipment or bulky machines. You cannot, by all means, because the octane number is not there. Very, very small octane number. So combustion is very limited, give you a small amount of energy, not enough to drive heavy, bulky machines. And Brazil, I think, I'm not sure, but it's large amount of the production of their crops is corn, and they use it as a fuel to fuel small cars, to heat with it plants, to do a lot of stuff, but in a small, not bulky, heavy stuff. So ethanol will not do it. We're still in need of crude oil. We need diesel. We need diesel to carry out our heavy, bulky machines we are producing. But that's the use of corn, because we are using of corn. Then you can see you are producing corn for ethanol. You are replacing some of the components of the crude oils. Crude oil had many components. The heavy ones sinking in whenever you have this leakage of crude oil from a ship to the ocean, the heavy crude oil, that's what their octane number is very high. That's what you need, those heavy crude oil, very heavy. Then you have middle range of density, and then you have the lighter crude oil and the medium crude oil. When I say this one here, I speak about the density of those crude oils. The heavy crude oil, the higher density, that's what you get the diesel from. The lighter one, you get natural gas, ethane, propane, butane, all the hexane. Those are lighter ones. So those will affect then those small tiny gases can be used, can be remanufactured, and they are used in many drug industry as well. So using corn is always leading to production of crops. Corn, especially corn in Brazil, is very famous with that, and this often displaces food production and increase food cost for the poor people. So instead of having this millions of cubic kilometer of area with the different crops so that will feed the people, you are doing only one crop, correct, for the purpose of getting this fuel. Now in the long term, it's not good, because if you'll have shortage in some type of plants, in some type of veggies or fruits, whatever, you'll have some shortages because you don't have enough area to feed your people with this. So I think they have about more than 50% of the area in Brazil. I don't know, but look at the statistics. You can Google the statistics. I think 40 to 50% of the area is just corn to make this ethanol. Now that's not good in the long term. In the long term, they will see themselves they need some other type of plants, correct? So we get a lot of amino acids, not only from fish or meat, but we get amino acids, which is really good for our health and other living creatures' health. We get them from what? From all type of beans. The beans are the measures in the plants and the major source of amino acids. And a healthier one, because the amino acids from the fish and from the meat from the animals are filled with a lot of other stuff is unhealthy. So if you eat meat, too much of the meat or too much of the fish, but you'll have then a lot of other chemicals introduced to your body, which the most lethal one is cholesterol. Cholesterol is like a steroid compound that's really blocking the veins. So if you eat too much meat, but those beans, they can replace the amino acids and the proteins without the side effect of cholesterol or other chemicals here. Do we have enough farmland? Well, as I said, the growth of the population is increasing. The land for offered for the increase for the land is offered for the planting is limited. It's not increasing that much. I mean, compared to our growth, the population growth, they are not there. So there we are not there we are not matching the growth of population with the land usage, or planting. So much of the world's uncultivated land could potentially be converted to cropland, but this land currently provides essential ecological services on which farmers depend. So in some areas you have some areas they don't allow farmers. They don't allow this. Just like I would say, Brazil is the government is imposing this. But in some countries like India, some areas the farmers will tell the industry, don't come and then put your crop or biofuel engines in our area, because what's happened is they extract those corn and they take them immediately to the plant, which the plant is very close to the area they are cultivated from. It's not far away. They take them, put them in, okay, and they do processing on them. They get the ethanol out of them. So in some areas, farmer will reject this, will fight the industry, keep the industry out, and they have the right to, and they said this will be this area will be cultivated with different type of crops, not only corn. You don't come here and then take all these thousands of hectares or cubic kilometer to just make ethanol out of them. We need to have different type of species of plants to provide different type of food. Rising meat production is a sign of wealth. Well, because it's we are using the meat has, as I said, it has protein. Protein is the protein is made of carboxylic acid, which is amino acids. Amino acids is linked, many of them, with the peptides link. They make your protein, and then the price of this, because we are using a lot of other technologies, that will increase the meat prices, correct? And compare with the same amount or more, the amino acids the protein coming from the beans, compared with the ones coming from the meat, you will see almost the comparison is leaning towards the plant, the beans. Now, because the meat has not only these acids, amino acids, but it has other stuff, which has fats, correct, and it has cholesterols, steroids. It has some other chemicals which are really affecting our health. And I don't want to be a vegetarian, but that's the best way, is to reduce amount of meat we are eating, and that's the reason it's always the amount of wealth in any country, how much meat the people of that country is eating. So if this country is eating a lot of meat, you will know that this country is very rich. People there in countries that are lacking that much of eating of meat, they are very poor. So that's the value the meat. And as I said, meat is high value proteins, amino acids, iron, fats, cholesterols, or some other stuff, and which is needed. But some of those other stuff is not good for our health anyway. So as I said, it's like a mirror, as an image of any country, of wealth of any country, because the meat is self-production, just coming from the animal itself all the way to production. costs a lot of costs a lot of money because you have to use a lot of technologies there. Correct? You use a lot of, but if you cultivate beans, will cost you less technology to be used compared with the meat technologies you will be using. The confined animal feeding operation, they call it CAFO, increased production. This is it's a technology of breeding of breeding animals. Correct. This is, well, those technologies here of breeding animals, it has an index called CAFO, correct? So animals are housed and fed mainly soy and corn for rapid growth. So that's the index, and the index, the higher this index, the higher productivity of this animal. So the animal are fed with mostly corn and soy, and some other minerals as well. It's not there, but they are fed with the food is some other minerals as well, because animals need to produce good food when they eat minerals. As the soil without minerals, they can't survive. So that's the reason we are adding to the soils fertilizers. Those fertilizers mostly is potassium as element, phosphorus, nitrogen, magnesium, calcium. All the soil is needing this, and the same thing the animal to produce a very healthy meat. The operation dominates this operation. I mean, feeding these animals with the soy and corn and minerals will dominate livestock, rising in the U.S., Europe, and increasing in China and other countries. Animals are housed in giant enclosure with thousands of other animals. So, seafood, both wild and farmed, depends on wild source inputs. Well, the seafood by far is better than the animal meat. The idea is they do have cholesterol in the fish. They do have cholesterol. They produce cholesterol, but the amount of cholesterol and fat is very minimum compared with the cholesterol and fat coming from the animals. So animals, they produce more cholesterol, more fats than the fish. But the amino acids are comparable. The amino acid, the proteins from the plants, from the beans, and from the fish, and from the animals are comparable. But as I said, you have to look at the other sides of each one. The clean one is the beans. The beans, they give you only proteins, nothing else. They don't produce any fats. They don't produce any cholesterols, steroids. Then the fish, they do, but small amount. But the animal, they produce a lot of cholesterol, a lot of fats, which is really dangerous. So I myself limit myself with the meat. I maybe once a month meat. Otherwise, most of my food is fish. So I was born near the ocean, so near Indian Ocean. So then when I was born, so it's fish and meat is just from the beginning. Without even when I was so small child, I did not know about all this information. But that's the reason it's available, cheap, and is in your hand anytime you need to eat fish. You can. It's very cheap and available 24 hours. So and that's the reason we have to. The bush has to be going towards the beans, the plants, and the fish, and less for the meat. So then we'll have those prices might go down for the meat and the fish and the plants. If you look here, 13 of 17 major marine fisheries have declined dramatically or becoming commercially unsustainable. As I said, fish are grown in a farm too, and they take less space, but they are highly productive. So you can produce a lot of fish in a small tiny farm, correct? So biohazards arise in industrial production. Well, the bacteria is coming from animals' droppings and from liquid waste. Therefore, they can escape into the environment through the air or seep through the soil to our tap water aquifer. So, constant use of antibiotics may produce antibiotic-resistant disease. This use is then slowly rendering our standard antibiotic useless for human health care. Well, if you use antibiotics, even for a human, it will come to the point your body cannot be affected by these antibiotics anymore. And then the doctor has to prescribe you higher dosage of this antibiotic, which is not good. The antibiotics are compounds that have, somebody will tell me what's the antibiotic has. It has a very negative impact on the body of any creature, living creature. They are very stimulant. They are highly stimulant, means if you use them on the regular basis every day, you cannot get out of them. Like the person is really affected by marijuana, taking by opium, by methamphetamine, all the drugs, that person needs to go to hospital. There's no cure. It's so deep inside the brain. They are so stimulants, and the person will be so addictive. And it has to go through really a rehab, through really redesigning the blood, redefining the blood, cleaning the blood, redo all the stuff to get that person on the right way. And this is the same thing with antibiotics, because they are sisters of the steroids. Sisters of what? And sometimes if you have a surgery, after the surgery will give you very strong antibiotics, you have to sign for it. And one time I did my surgery for my knee, and the doctor, he said, you have to sign. I said, why I have to sign? He said, you know what the material? I said, yes, but I'm not using and sell it to somebody else. That's drugs, and we are not allowed to give it to anyone until that person sign and admit that you will not use it for any other purpose except for your sickness, to release the pain of the surgery. So, and those chemicals are very addictive, very stimulant, and very addictive. It's very hard to get out of them. And that's the antibiotics. Not only plants or bacteria or fungi create this for themselves, the resistance for the effect of those antibiotics, but humans as well. If you are on antibiotics every day, you will be like on drugs every day. You cannot get out until you go to hospital as a sick person and be treated as a sick person. You have to go to the rehab. It's the same thing, yeah. So, and those antibiotics, there is no management for them. They end up in the soil or the ocean or rivers or ponds. So that's another hazard for the environment. Living soil is a precious resource, and that is really true. We don't have soil, we will not have tree, and we cannot live on this earth because the amount of oxygen produced is limited, will be depleted. When you deplete the oxygen, there is CO2 will come out from us. CO2, there's not enough oxygen there, so what will happen? Well, at the end, we'll suffocate because there is not enough oxygen for all of us on this earth. So you need plants, the plants need not only for our food, but for our inhaling oxygen, because of the process of photosynthesis is what? The production of oxygen. The purpose of photosynthesis, the main purpose, they produce glucose, of course. Glucose will come to us, to those plants. But the major one, which is very, very, very precious, very, very, extensive treasure here, or very expensive treasure, is production of oxygen. And through the photosynthesis, the plants produce oxygen. So, and the soil is very important. Maintaining good, healthy soil means maintaining good plants, meaning maintaining good crops, good type of food you get. And here soil contains, that's all the stuff they contains minerals, contains decompose our dead bodies. Remember I told you when you eat, remember you are eating a dead body somewhere, somehow, thousands of years, maybe millions of years there. And they host a very good living organism. There is a good living, positive living organism, and there is very negative living organism. So the good ones are when they come on the dead bodies, they act of them like decomposing this dead body, and the dead body is then releasing what? Releasing a lot of elements in sense of nitrate, phosphate. All those are coming from the dead bodies and elements, and then combine itself with the air inside the soil and produce those ions, the food for the plants themselves. So they are really a very good living organism, helping decomposing those dead bodies and producing a lot of mineral ions, and that will have sustaining the ecosystem, sustaining what? The ecosystem. Management of soil is very, very important, and the management of soil will make it recyclable, so you can reuse. I'm not a farmer, but the farmer, I saw that in Germany, they tell you this month, from this month, this area with this crop. Then after that, they move that crop, they put another crop. You ask them why, they say, well, this crop is lacking, it does not take that much of H2O watering, and it's have the ability to have the soil more strong. So I don't know, but you can see from one area to one area with the days or months, they're changing the area they are planting some seeds inside. Do you see that before? It's from area to area, they just take the crop out, let it a couple of days, and then put another new one, not the old one. And they have experience in doing this, and that's what really sustain the soil. Okay, guys. What is soil? Well, it's asked what is soil. Well, soil is a complex mixture of sand and gravel, clays, dead organic deposits, flora, soil, fauna, air, and tap water. So all those are part of the soil. When I say soil, it's not just one, it's a complex mixture of all those, okay? And when we say we can add to this even minerals, part of the soil, so minerals can be part of the soil. So we can add to those here minerals as well. Your food comes mostly from a horizon. I took the map, so I'm not going through this. You can look at the detailed one with the map. So or the area A or zone A is a rich area, and the O area is the lacking area of that crop. Okay, guys. So I took the whole thing there, so you can You can refer this one to the figure there inside the detailed PowerPoint. So there are some areas very rich in crop, some areas is lacking that crop. Ways we use and abuse soil. Well, one of the abusing soil, as you say, you dump a lot of contamination inside the soils, and that's what the major problem we have. You have industry are dumping a lot of chemicals, a lot of waste inside the air. That air will come through the rain back to the soil. That's another way. So you have contamination coming direct to those soils from the manufacturing plants, or they come indirect through the air by precipitating on the soil. Then you have wind can cause soil damage, especially the upper surface of the soil. Light particles can be driven away out of the soil, correct? Then you have, whenever you have flooding towers will be using the flooding is one of the damaging for the soil. Those are the damaged stuff here. So, and as I said, some of those factors can be controlled. Some of the factors is just beyond control, correct? The wind can be controlled because you can put some stuff on a soil with the light particles to make the particles heavier so they will not be, can be driven easily out of the soil. The tower flooding, yes, we can manage the soil out of the damage from this by channeling the floods. But sometimes this one will be out of control. We cannot control it. But you can channel the tower flooding, and the time of the year flooding will happen. So you can channel this flooding into its proper channels. Some of this flooding can be used to recycle tower. Some of it, most of it will end up in the ocean, correct? Some of it will, the majority of it will end up in the ocean itself. Okay. As I said, contamination from chemicals is there, so we cannot really deny it. And this one has to do with the soil management and for each country. And those countries, they have good management, they have good soil. Least management, they have very bad soil. In some areas, just they turn their soil into drought, into dry sand, into dry soil. So useless. You cannot be using it because they are dumping a lot of stuff on the soils without any consideration. So, and that's we call this desertification. Desertification is making soil acting like a desert. So the desert there is. So water is the leading cause of soil loss. That's always true, but not only leading, but not really just only this one here. The wind has, and the flooding has another factor. So wind and flooding, they have factor beside the water is water flooding. When I say water, that's meaning flooding. The floods here, this is the major one, but we have wind there, loss of soil. We have contamination, chemical contamination due to chemicals. That's another one. Wind, another one. Okay, guys. And the management itself, another third one. So least management of the soil will lead to loss of the soil. And one of the important soil is living creatures, because myself, I consider the soil is a living creature, because if you starve the soil from certain amount of elements, the soil will die. You get a desert out of the soil. So it's a living creature in the sense it has to have a check and balance on their element, their needed elements. So they need calcium, they need magnesium, they need sodium, they need potassium, they need phosphorus, they need nitrogen. All those elements are needed for a healthy soil. Now, if you starve the soil from all those elements, that will have a very negative impact. You create out of the soil a small tiny desert, so this will be desert. You cannot cultivate, you cannot use this soil anymore. So erosion here, it has come in many forms. Sheet erosion, real erosion. You don't have to worry about the type, but at least you know the sheet erosion removes a thin layer of soil. Real erosion occurs when small rivulets of running water cut small channels in the soil. That's due to the tap water coming through. But if you have a flood, then you have a large amount large amount of channels will be destroying the soil and going through the seeping through the soil into the tap water containers and to the oceans. So you have gully erosion occur when rails expand to form bigger channels. That's when you have this one here for, especially if you have a flood. This is a flood type of channeling. This one, I would say, rail is just like a heavy rain, heavy rain. And this one is a flood. That's when you have destruction of the soil itself. The stream bank erosion that's happened. Soil washed away from the stream as the stream banks. This happened again if you have a strong flooding. It will take it will take all the good area from the bank at the edges of the rivers or ponds. So wind is a close second in a region. So first we have tap water flooding, and then we have the second one is wind. Of course, wind is another problem. It will move light particles of the soil, the top layer, not the bottom. The bottom's heavy particles. They cannot be pushed by the wind unless you have a big severe storm. Then yes, then in this case you are making most of the soil will cover the whole city as such. So, but wind, yes, it has a problem after tap water flooding, correct? Intensive farming practices are largely responsible for this situation. Okay, row crops leave soil exposed for much of the growing season, and heavy herbicides application creates weed-free fields that look tidy but are subject to erosion. Well, in some areas they put this weed on purpose just for protection of some specific crops. Those weeds are not, you don't eat this weed here. What's happening is, but they are protecting the crops from the wind. In some areas you see a lot of weed surrounding the corn area from the edges. So just to protect the corn fields from the wind. Wind erosion can lead to desertification. As I said, you can create a desert out of soil by many ways. So you can by tap water flooding, by wind, by adding contaminants. I mean, adding some chemicals. Not only wind will use to get this desertification, meaning making a desert out of a very healthy soil. You can make a very sick, very ill soil by those contamination through chemicals, wind, and tap water flooding. So those are the three major factors can affect this desertification, making a desert out of a healthy soil. And agriculture inputs. Soil is the foundation of food production, that's we know. But there are many other, I will wait on this. but at least many other critical factors are there present. Agriculture is also dependent upon the dependable tap water resources, nutrition, favorable temperatures and rainfall, productive crop varieties, and the mechanical energy to tend and to harvest the crops. All those are factors. I'll stop here. All those factors are affecting agriculture inputs. And the whole thing is in one word will come. Can we the whole slide in one word? 2 words. What we call this? Soil management. Soil management. So the whole thing here, 2 words. Soil management. So soil management, that will give you all those points and more and more. So I will stop here. Promise you to go now. I have to go to see somebody out, and then I will go immediately. I'll call them in, see what they'll say, because I am really disappointed. And don't worry, if something, I will readjust all those 3 quizzes we have done so far, and delete the other ones, and then use my own. I will use my own as the time progresses. I'll just one quiz at a time, one quiz at a time.
So don't take quiz 3 right now?
Well, take quiz 3 because 3 people are already taken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I cannot say no. They will be a little bit upset.
Okay.
So if you get bad grades, don't worry. The 3 quizzes, I will respond to them, and take advantage on the extra credit, please. That's not for me. That's for you.
When is it?
February, I think 23rd. That's in iCollege.
Oh, it is.
It's nice to feel that you are really contributing to somebody else's life. I mean, charity is always the positive feature of a human, always. So donate your blood, and you get 10 points out of this. If you make a video, you will get 12 points. Okay, guys? And I'm sorry for the quizzes here. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, me too.